So first, I'd like to make sure that everyone is aware and familiar with going to our webpage. The webpage is aging.nm.gov. I'm going to take you to our webpage so you guys can see that when the homepage is going to look like this. You can find us by going to admin, capital outlay, and then just click on the capital outlay link. Once you get there, you should see our information on the capital outlay. Make sure you bookmark, make us one of your favorites. You can download the application training manual here. And then here are the dates and links. Obviously, we're on the last date for this, so I'll be taking this down. But there'll be other videos for you to review here. For other information, this is kind of gives an update of what we're working on when you're submitting your request for payments. This is the information that we're looking for. You can also get all of the contact information. We have new staff, so we now have a project coordinator for every PSA. And then we also have some information system, resource documents. Oh, I think that's somebody. If everybody can make sure that they're on mute, please. But I have resource documents that if you need to look for things, we have our forms, scope of work, notice of obligation, anything else you need, and then of course the funding application. Now, has everybody registered as a bonfire vendor? I'm going to wait at least until I get thumbs up or confirming. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to assume everybody is not a vendor. Okay, I have a few. Thank you. So with that, once you log into your bonfire, you're going to, you should be seeing more. So that's why I'm wondering what's going on. This is going to show all of the applications. So I want to make sure when you guys go in, if you guys could let me know if you're only seeing meals equipment and other equipment, as well as new construction. But today we're going to be talking about, not yet, okay. But well, then let me go over that really quick. So in this manual, I'm a visual learner, so I've tried to make this as complete as possible. Sometimes over-explaining processes. It's 26 pages long, but we do want you guys to have all the information you need. So this instruction manual is broken down into 4 sections. Bonfire registration, application login and information, and then completing your submission, as well as a checklist for application uploads. Again, you can click on this link within the PDF and it'll take you to our webpage. And then, of course, my contact information is here. If you're new to Bonfire and you haven't registered, you're going to start on page 3 and continue through. I do try to put as many pages. As you can tell, I'm not necessarily tech savvy, so you're going to see little circles over here are highlighted sections. I have tried to make sure that whatever pages you're seeing on your screen are what are listed in the instruction manual. You're going to continue through all this process. It is a little bit of a process, but I promise it's not difficult if you follow all these steps. You start on page 3, and it's going to take you until, I believe, page 8. I haven't memorized this yet. Nope, I'm wrong. It's going to take you approximately from 6 to 13, that many pages for you to complete your registration. But once you do, you can hold on to that information and you should be good to go. When you're going to log in, you're going to make sure you need to bookmark that login page so you can log in your Bonfire account. Once you log into your Bonfire account, you're going to go to your open public opportunities. Again, I'm trying to see why I'm not showing, so I'm going to take a look in a little while why I'm not seeing the other ones. But what you're going to do is you're going to see the status is open, the project, so it's going to list the 2027 application, and then at the end, it's going to list what application type. You're going to view the opportunity. It's going to ask to verify that you're a human. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. It depends on your internet connection. Once you do, it's going to open up a page that's going to provide all of the project details. This is going to tell you that this application is for meals equipment and other equipment. It's going to tell you that it's from the Capital Outlay Bureau of Aging and Long-Term Services. It's going to tell you that the status is open. The open date was November 3rd. It's going to give my contact information, and it's going to tell you the close date, which is February 3rd at 11:30 p.m. So there's 90 days left to complete your application. You're also going to see that there's some important dates listing here. And then it's going to give you requested information. It's giving you kind of a cheat sheet of letting you know all the questions you're going to need to reply to or answer. These are all going to be required, but you're going to see that some of these are going to be and I'm going to have to check the order of these, but it's going to say unique per alternative. The unique per alternative is going to mean you can upload for multiple senior centers. So that information is going to be unique to that senior center. You're going to see that we have a lot of questions for you to respond to. With that, we've added 2 new questions, which are here. We want to know if your senior center facility currently has any active capital outlay projects with us. If yes, we need you to provide the project number, the total amount that was appropriated, the current unspent balance, that means that hasn't been reimbursed, and then the status of those projects. We also want to know within the last 3 years for any closed projects, list the project number and the amount reverted, if any. We've identified through LFC that there's a lot of capital outlay funding that isn't being spent down. So this is going to impact future appropriations. So we want to make sure that you guys as senior centers are aware that you will be, or your application may be judged on what your spending is. If you have quite a few appropriations and you have not been spending those funds, it could negatively impact future spending until you have those funds spent down. So we want to make sure everybody gets their funding. So please look at or meet with your project coordinator. I know they are all actively working to schedule quarterly meetings so you can identify where you're at with your projects. You're going to see that we have specific question sets. These are going to be the required documents. We're going to need the meals and equipment. This is going to be an Excel spreadsheet that's going to need to be submitted. The certifying letter, ICIP, budget identifying ongoing maintenance, and applicable quotes and cost estimates are going to be PDFs. If this was for vehicles and equipment, we attached a new document which is requesting a listing of all of your vehicles. We need their make, model, year, mileage, and the status of the vehicle right now. And when you are replying for those vehicles, we need to know in your narrative if you're adding to the fleet because of more use, you're having more seniors, you're picking up more seniors, or why. So we really need to know what the justification is for those additions. Same with meals and equipment. Please make sure in your narrative you're giving us as much information as possible. If you're requesting updated kitchen information, please make sure to note how old the other kitchen equipment is. If you're just adding more because of your size is increasing, make sure to list all of those variables. So we can see over here to the right, there's one document that needs to be downloaded, at least for meals and equipment. For meals and equipment, there would be 2. One is going to be the question set, and that other one is going to be that vehicle log. Here is where you're going to notice any vendor discussion. So if somebody had a question and wanted to find out if they're seeing a similar issue, this is where you would have this. If I was notifying you, let's say we were extending the deadline, or where there was an issue, like let's say bonfire was out, this would be where I would list all of these updates. And then when you come here, you're going to see that you're going to prepare your submission. Right now, I'm listed as the vendor. If you're not familiar with the process, there's this great video that's here just to the right. It is going to be a general one. So it's not going to look specifically like this. It's just going to give you the general parameters on how to upload your submission. So what we want to do is once you've completed you've gone through and you've gotten your letters, the certifying letter is basically you're getting the approval from your executive to apply for these projects. The ICIP is an infrastructure capital planning tool. It's to identify your goals for the next 3 to 5 years. So if your goal is to build a whole new senior center or to provide an expansion, or you're going to need to start reworking your fleet and working out, let's say you have 15 vehicles and you're going to need to start swapping those out 3 a year. This is where you would have identified what those goals are and what the estimated cost is going to be. People at the Legislative Finance Committee, as well as our representatives and senators, take a look at this so they can start budgeting and planning for the future. They look at these to try and identify forecasting to see if there's going to be more requests for vehicles or meals, or if there's going to be more requests for renovations, code compliance. And this isn't just for ours, this is for all capital outlay funding that they take a look at. The budget is identifying ongoing maintenance, is showing us that your fiscal entity is prepared to provide ongoing maintenance or deferred maintenance. So whether it's going to be for the meals and equipment, to make sure that you have, this is where your warranties probably will be purchased out of. If it's for your vehicles, this is going to be where the oil changes or the tires or any type of maintenance is going to come out. LFC is requesting that entities or applicants are showing that their fiscal agent is going to be prepared to take on the additional cost to maintain whatever the application type is going to be. And then lastly, we're looking at applicable quotes, cost estimates, or application type for application type. So for specifically for this meals and equipment, we would want to know if you're buying kitchen equipment or gym equipment, we would want to know what that breakdown is. We do not want a spreadsheet or handwritten. These need to be quotes from a verified source. You can go online and get estimates for right now. I strongly suggest you add 15% to 20% to the top, because we are seeing an increase in prices within the year and a half that it's going to take for you to receive funding. With that, for this application cycle is going to be 2027 is probably going to be a severance tax bond or a general fund. So it may take anywhere from getting it budgeting immediately in July to getting funding not until the following year for the severance tax bond. The Legislative Finance Committee is also being very mindful that whenever we are taking out funds for bonds, we want to make sure that those funds are being spent down. We are not allowed, as in the state, is not allowed to earn any interest on any outstanding bonds. Right now, we have over 85 million that hasn't been spent in capital outlay. So that means we're not the only department, but across the board, the state of New Mexico had to pay over $1 million in interest to the IRS. We don't want to do that. We want to show that the funds are being spent down. So again, Legislative Finance Committee, senators and representatives are really asking that we make sure, and we're talking to our grantees to make sure that they're spending down those funds. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's go ahead and say that we've gone through, we've identified the answers to these questions, which I'm going to kind of go through, and so you can see how the process goes. And then I'm going to attach and submit one of my applications. So when you're ready to go, you have all of your stuff. Also within this, you want to make sure that you're following a certain naming convention. So when you are going to download this step here, we want to make sure, one, that you're saving it in a specific file for a specific senior center for the specific application type. For me, what I created was, for the training purposes, I had Senior Center 1 and Senior Center 2. Right now, I'm going to be dealing with Senior Center 2, and I have applications set aside for meals and equipment, planning and design, new construction, and then vehicles and equipment, just for Senior Center 2. This is just a great way to ensure that you're not mixing up any of your information. One of the issues we did face this last year with our applications was they were applying for multiple senior centers, but attaching different senior center information and documents to those applications. So this is a great way to try and keep it organized and make sure that your application gets to the next stage. So we're looking at meals and equipment. You can see I'm going to have all of my information already set up. I'm going to have, and the naming convention that we're asking for you to use is going to be the application type. So for this one is going to be meals, equipment, and other equipment. The facility name. So let's say it's going to be Senior Center 2, and then the grantee. So the fiscal agent. So for me, it would be ALTSD. This is also another good way for you to make sure which project you're working on. Now, when we go to opening the document, let me go ahead and download this. When you open it, you're going to have to make sure that you enable that spreadsheet. So you're going to have to save it into a specific location. Once I figure out which screen it opens on, I will pull it over to this one. Give me just a moment. It's interesting. It says I can't open in protected view. All right, we're going to go in and look at one of my other ones and see if it will allow me to open it. When this opens, you're going to need to make sure to click at the top to enable view, and you're going to want to save it. Your first page is going to be the instructions showing you everything that you need to complete for this. The summary page is going to tell you that there's 9 questions, and it'll tell you if they've been completed. This one has already been completed, but we're going to go through just so I can show you everything. So the first one is going to be requesting what the facility name is. This is for those entities or for those senior centers that you guys are applying for multiple senior centers. So if this was Senior Center 1, Senior Center 2, you would list the actual name of those. Then you're going to put the amount of the request, what you're requesting. For me, I want to get $48,000 for a churro machine because who doesn't love churros? So in my narrative, again, we want to include the amount of funding, describe the project's goals, how progress toward these goals will be measured, and the specific services that will be enhanced as a result of the project or funding. Clearly explain and document the need for the project, for example, by citing code compliance or other relevant issues, and describe how the requested funding will address or alleviate these problems. Finally, outline the potential consequences if funding is not awarded. I would have very upset seniors at my Senior Center 2 if we do not get a churro machine. So the next questions are, is your fiscal agency prepared to provide ongoing maintenance and repair? That's 10 points. You will need to do the drop down, and unfortunately, you will still need to answer in the comment. I haven't figured out that trick, but you'll have to answer twice. Are you prepared to upload your budget documentation? Yes, I'm going to have my deferred maintenance. Did the requested funds complete the project? Now, why would you say no? You might be asking like, well, this is going to be a phased project. So we're going to start with the meals and equipment, or we're redoing an entire gym, but we don't have the opportunity or the funding to be able to afford to pay up front the full amount. So we're going to break this out into projects. That's when you would answer, yes, they complete the requested project, or no, this is going to be phase 1 of 3. And you can do that with meals and equipment because, if you're doing a complete kitchen renovation, it might take some time to be able to complete that, and you won't be able to do it all in one go. Provide an overview of the projected budget addressing the following components. We need to know how much the equipment's going to cost, installation, and delivery, and other costs. Please be aware that we don't pay for warranties. Any of our funding cannot pay for warranties. Have you met with your elected officials, plan for the project? Have you met with your elected officials to plan for this project? If so, who? The reason we ask this question is because if you have talked to your state representatives, the likelihood of it passing in the bill is greater. So you want to make sure that you're talking to your representatives and your legislators to make them aware of that. You also want to make sure that you're talking to your elected officials, whether it's going to be your council or your governor or your board commission. So that way they are all aware that you're applying for this funding, because oftentimes those individuals come to the Capitol to seek funding, and they'd like to know, they should know that you have applied for funding. So that way when they're speaking to the representative, they can push those. If there is already, I apologize, let me take a look at that. That chat disappeared. If there is already approved funding for projects, but it's not fully funded, do we continue to request for funding to get fully funded for the pending project? Could you explain that, excuse me, a little bit more? So you're saying that you have approved funding, so you already have an appropriation that's current, correct? But you're saying for project, but it's not fully funded. But you're saying that the project isn't complete, like you're going to need more funding from that. You would submit another application to complete the phase or the funding for that. Yes, if I'm understanding you correctly. But you wouldn't get more funding already to an appropriation. Once an appropriation has been made, we can't add funding to that. So you would need to apply for a whole new appropriation amount. Does that make sense? I can't tell if you're typing. I apologize. Okay. I'm going to move forward, but Vera, if you have other questions, if I didn't answer that, please let me know. And then we'd like to know who you're meeting with. So if you can let us know who you met with, and then did you upload applicable quotes, cost estimates? You're going to have to apply. You're going to have to respond twice. So as you can see, we have all completes. If we go here, we see everything was complete and there was no errors. There was funding appropriated, but not for that specific project. Are you able to unmute to kind of discuss this a little bit more? Because I don't think I'm understanding completely your question, and I want to make sure I'm able to answer it. Okay, I'm going to assume you don't have a speaker. So what you're saying is you have a project, but it's not for this specific project. You should be able to unmute. I haven't forced anybody. You should be able to unmute. But if you can't, then it's on your side. So what I'm understanding is that you have an appropriation for a project for something else. So you want funding for another project. So every time you apply for funding, it has to be for a specific project type. You can phase out if you're going to, if this is this for construction or renovations, or is this for meals and equipment or vehicles and equipment? Okay, so for a building addition, if this is just one of the phases, you would continue to apply for the rest of the phases to complete the project. If you're applying for a building addition, we need to make sure that you've submitted and you've already completed planning and design. Unless planning and design is not required, then we'll need a letter stating that, may follow up for further information. Okay. So as you can see, we have no errors. So we're going to go back. And we're going to go to start preparing the submission. You're going to click on prepare your submission. It should open a new page. You're going to see that it's going to give you all of your information when you registered as a vendor. So it's going to ask for your name. If you see to the left, you're going to see a light. So that means red means stop. Click on the save. Green means go. So this is supposed to be further down, but I'm going to put yes. I'm just going to make up numbers. 50,000. Current budget is 0. And closed. Then we're going to have another one, which is going to be J2037.48. We received funding for 250,000. Right now the balance is 250,000 because we just got it in process. Okay. So this is the kind of information that we're gonna be requesting. So we're gonna need to know all active projects that you have with us. Make sure that you hit save. For those closed projects, I'm gonna have an E5207. It was originally for 789,000. We reverted $126. And we'll be going in. Yours truly gets to go in and check all of this information. Applicant title. Oh, what's my title? And whoever is applying for these projects, please know this is the person that we're reaching out to. So if you're tasking somebody to do this and they're not checking their email, if there's any problems, we're only giving 48 hours for them to correct the problem. So please make sure that you're checking with whoever's applying for these projects to make sure that they're answering all emails. So I'm just going to go through, add all of this information. This is Senior Center 2. Facility contact name is going to be Brenda Cisneros. And that facility contact number, 505-867-5309. If you know, you know. If you don't, it's okay. Talk to somebody over the age of 50, they'll know. This is owned by the city. How do we know if a project reverted? It's probably going to be some historical documents. Before, I would have had you go into CPMS and you could do a sort to identify what projects you've had. So it might be a little bit of digging. And reverting, if a project reverted and you reverted the entire amount, there should be something on file. If you closed a project and you reverted, let's say it was for 26,000 and you reverted 1,000 some, we just need to know the amount. It won't necessarily impact you negatively. I'm just gonna, for sake, I'm gonna enter here. What sources of funding were used to construct? So we're looking for if you received grants from CBDG, I forget those initials, or DFA or emergency, or if you were working with the county in conjunction with the county, we want to know all the funding types and those amounts. We also know what types of renovations or repairs and improvements have been completed. Where square footage is 1,234 feet. Oh, it's not gonna oh, it did. Last time it didn't like when I put I think because I had it under number, it did not like the comma, so I apologize. Yes, but we are growing. Congregate meals. We ask this question because we're also trying to do some forecasting and planning and identifying where you see yourselves in the next 5 years. Again, we want to provide a brief history and general description of the facility. Unfortunately, this last year we weren't able to visit a lot of the senior centers, so we have to imagine what it looks like. So we're kind of depending on you to give us just a brief history on so we can visualize what your senior center looks like. How many seniors? We get 463 daily. I mean, they come for those churros. That's why we need the churro machine. Does the local government provide operating staff? Generally, this is a yes. If it's a no, please make sure and answer this. Yellow means that it's an optional question and you don't have to answer it. But if you don't click save, I won't know what that answer is. So just make sure if you do. Again, I'm just going to put TBA. So I want to know if you're getting in kind. In kind can be, let's say you have an instructor, yoga instructor, and they volunteer, they donate their time, so you don't have to pay them. You could mention those things. And the reason we want to know this is just to see what's happening within your senior center, not to try and grill you. We just want to know what type of funding you are getting. Have you met with your fiscal agent? Yes. And the reason we want you to make sure you're talking to your fiscal agent, because if you're asking for 1.4 million, the fiscal agent is going to have to upfront pay for all of the costs for the 1.4 million, and then you guys will get reimbursed as you submit those requests for reimbursement. So we need to make sure that your fiscal agent is aware and prepared. You might not be able to have that funding capacity, so it's a really great discussion to have with them. I'm going to say yes, we have a project coordinator, but I know for most of you guys, it's going to be you. Is staff prepared to comply with reporting? So previously we used to do reporting through CPMS. Now it's going through DFA's CAP system or PARS, but we're going to be with CAP. So you will have to do your quarterly reports through this and we'll have to verify it. I will say that once everything's kind of up and running, we will not submit requests for payments if you have not done your quarterly reporting. So just be aware of those provisions. Now we're at the point where we're going to need to update and upload all of our information. So this is going to tell us that we need to upload a file for the question set. And let me find my, there we are. Senior Center 2, meals and equipment. Let's hope it takes this one. If I've changed it, it won't like it and it'll tell me I have to do something else. So we're going to see here that I'm going to have to do a different template, which is interesting because I'm not sure what changed, but we'll worry about that one. But it'll let you know, see how it changed, it stayed red. It didn't like the file. We're going to do the certifying letter, uploading. You're going to see that this is a green light and everything's good. For the ICIP, you're going to do the same. The ICIP is going to cover probably all of your application types, so I would just copy and then rename it for each one of the senior center and application types that you're submitting for. The budget identifying ongoing maintenance, that would probably be could be the same as well, so just make sure you're doing that. Same with your certifying letter. This might be one email, one letter for all of them, so I would just copy and paste and make sure you're putting it in each one of your folders. And then you're going to do the applicable quotes. Now, there might be a shot that I'm not going to be able to download this spreadsheet. So we're going to imagine the next part. The next part is going to be, you're going to click on this and then this is going to go live. But right now it's not going live because I have this one red mark. Let me go into my email and look for something really quick from yesterday and I can show you what it looks like. So give me just one moment. The hard part is I've deleted a lot of stuff since yesterday. So give me just one moment. What you're going to get is the moment you hit that, two things are going to happen. The screen is going to change and it's going to show you all of your answers to the questions. You're also going to get an email that's going to tell you the date it was submitted, the organization type. This will be an alternate too, so this means this is my second admission. And then it's going to give you all of the information, the requested documents, the questions, and then the data. Here it doesn't tell you what the data is, it just tells you that it was successfully submitted. When we have one of these that's actually complete, it'll give you all of the information and what you answered. It will also, let me see if I can go in and look at another one. Give me just a moment. So this is going to show me the applications that I've completed. So I'm going to go in and we're just going to take a look at this. It's going to give you the information and then it's going to show you all of the requested data. Also, it's going to give you a confirmation code. You can download all of those files. If you need to send me an email about something, you can do it immediately through here. If you have a pending app submission that you haven't completed, it will notify you here. If you click here, it'll take you to that portal so you can complete that submission. But let's say you've gone through, you slept through the night, you thought you submitted everything, you still have a couple days before the application cycle closes and you realize you did not do, you did something for the wrong senior center. You can go in and you can unsubmit your submission while the application cycle is open. If it's after when the application closed, you cannot go in and change things. So just make sure you're taking your time. You're going through the checklist that we've developed for you, which is on the last page. It's on the last 2 pages. We've created a checklist. You can go ahead and print this out and then check off as you get these documents ready for each one of your senior center application submissions. Once you've done that, then you can go in and you can resubmit your application. If there was no problems, you don't have to worry about it. You just have to wait until it gets graded. It does go through a check to make sure that we have all of the documents and information. After that, then it goes to get scored by 3 different groups: DFA, non-metro or AAA, and then within our internal team. After that, we look at the scores. It has to be above a 70% for it to move to the next phase. You'll be notified if your project didn't make it, and your project, if it didn't make it, but also if it did make it, and letting you know what the next steps are going to be for the legislative process. I'm going to stop staring my screen and ask if there's any questions. Okay, there's no questions. That's fine. You're always more than welcome to, send me an email. No question is a bad question. I put my email in the chat. Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering if this training will be available on like any other type of network, like the recording part?
Yes, so once we're done here, I will get it uploaded. Our IT guy is going to be out tomorrow, so it probably won't be until Monday that it's uploaded. But if you looked on the website, the video, there was also other videos that were made available that you can also view. If you have any question, yes, you need to submit quotes with the application. If you have any other questions or run into any bumps, just don't hesitate to reach out. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I wish everyone luck on their applications. I'm going to give you back a little over 15 minutes of your day. I know most of you, your senior centers are just getting ready to close up. I appreciate your time and your commitment to your senior centers, and I really look forward to seeing your applications. Please let me know if there's anything we can do to assist. We can schedule one-on-one trainings with you, or, we can talk you through it. So just let us know, identify who your project coordinator is, and reach out to us, and we'll schedule that. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.